Venezuela, Hugo Chavez was only able to establish his control over the press by beating them up. He had to go to their offices and corral them and lock them up and threaten them, and then they decided to go along, if you will, with his deep state. In this country, they don't need to do that. The government doesn't need to cajole the press because the press works in concert with the police agencies of government. Who would have thought that the independent press, which was supposed to be a check on the government, particularly on the sort of dark side of the government, is now in cahoots with the dark side of the government and against information getting out? Who would think that a story as explosive and salacious as the Biden story — I don't call it the Hunter Biden story because it's really about Joe Biden, the ringleader of this enterprise — who would think that a story like this could be suppressed on all three networks and major cable channels and NPR and all the major newspapers, and that somehow, without talking to each other on the phone, they would all agree independently not to cover it?
That's right. So it does seem to be unprecedented and unparalleled. So then the second question, well, I've had many, but the second question that you address is the socialism one. I have my theories, but I love hearing you. So what's your theory? Why is socialism in so many ways desirable? What makes it appealing? Its record is awful. So why is it appealing?
I think it's appealing because fundamentally it's a kind of a larceny or a theft operation, at least in the way that socialism is understood in this country. This is not, by the way, the Scandinavian socialism. So let me just say one word about that. The Scandinavians have a big fat welfare state, and they offer a lot of welfare benefits. But they also have the simple idea that we are all in the same boat, which is to say that the entire society needs to carry the burden of these programs. So you'll never hear people in Norway or Sweden talk about free stuff because they know it's not free. Healthcare isn't really free. Education isn't free. Their idea is that we collectively share the burden of this, and that means uniformly high tax rates throughout the society. Even the poor pay the so-called VAT tax, which is a value-added consumer tax that's regressive, falls more heavily on the poor and the middle class than it falls on the rich. Now, contrast this with the rhetoric in America. Biden is essentially saying to Americans, no American earning $400,000 or less will have to pay for any of his programs. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, they keep talking about millionaires and billionaires. So you see right here the appeal of socialism. It is, I'm going to rob some other guy and give the proceeds to you. And two groups of people are going to be very happy with this arrangement. Number one, the people who arrange the robberies, because they essentially are the organizers of society, and it brings these people to power. And second, the beneficiaries of the larceny scheme, the sort of extended family of the racket, for the simple reason that they do nothing, provide nothing, create nothing, and yet receive benefits that have been confiscated from others. So that's why this type of socialism benefits the sort of socialist ruling class, and it benefits the beneficiaries who are being convinced we're going to take it from some other guy and give it to you.
That's the temptation. What was it? Nobody really knows the author of it, but something to the effect, it might even be in the ancient world, as soon as people realize that they could vote for people who will give them things, it sort of ends democracy.
Dennis, I think it's actually a much more ancient impulse than that. It's just the ancient impulse of plunder.
All right, hold on there. Plunder is the word. I just want to remind people he has a movie out, The Trump Guard, and he also has the latest PragerU video. And the he is Dinesh D'Souza.